My name is Kirk Bauer with F5 Networks, and I'm going to talk to you today about data groups. A data group is a list of data that can be accessed from iRules. They can be managed in the GUI, the iRules editor, using iControl, or they can even be stored as an external text file in the big IP. This is very useful if you have a large data group that you need to manage through some sort of external tool. They can contain strings, integers, and even IP and network address ranges. So why should you use them? Well, it separates the data from the iRule. This makes the iRule much simpler. Instead of having an iRule with 125 if then else statements, you could have a 10-line iRule with a data group. It means that somebody can change the behavior of the iRule by modifying the data group and not having to modify the iRule code. Some example uses. You could have access control on your website with data groups that list URLs to allow or disallow access to. You can have IP addresses or networks that you're going to block or allow or potentially put in a different rate shaping category. You can do redirects where a list of URLs are redirected to a new list of URLs. You can do rewrite rules. You can do security rules in terms of only allowing certain access to certain directories to specific users. As an example, the proxy pass iRule uses data groups to operate. In version 9, there's two commands, match class and find class. You can still use these in version 10, but they have been deprecated, as we'll see in the next slide. In 9.4.2 and higher, data group usage is CMP friendly if you do it correctly, as shown in this slide here. If you do before 9.4.2, then it will disable CMP for that particular virtual server. In this case, it's going to send this little example iRule says if the user agent is contained inside of a data group named crawlers, which you see in the upper right corner, then we're going to send them to a pool called crawler pool. It's very simple, easy to do, and you see now somebody can add a new crawler just by going to the data group and not modifying that iRule. 10.x, there's a new class command. You can also do key value pairs instead of just entries. This can help find entries in large data groups. I don't show that here in this example, but it's something to be aware of. Here's an example of using the class match command. And again, this is going to be an example of a list of IPs and networks that are going to be blacklisted from the site. Here's a iRule to perform a simple redirect. So if the host header is some old company name, we're going to redirect it to a new company name on a certain page. This works great, but imagine if you had thousands and thousands of these. That would start to become kind of unwieldy. Well, the data group, you can create a data group named redirects. You can look up the host name, the host header, and if that's found, the second column of the data group will be the URL to redirect to, and it'll redirect you to that place. If it's not found, then it just does a default redirect in this case to catch that condition. Local data groups are managed in the GUI, and they are stored in the bigip.conf, and very easy to use as long as they're not too large. They can also be modified via iControl as well, and they can be config synced. External data groups are great for large sets of data. They're stored in var class directory typically, and you have to be managed via CLI or iControl. You cannot manage them via the GUI. Okay, they're also by default not synced unless you set that up. Here's how you define an external data group. Create the file in var class, define it in the GUI referencing the file. If you want a config sync, then you have to modify this file to allow the config sync. And if you modify the file, you need to do a bload if you modify the file directly. Notice how inside the external data group you have to put a trailing comma after each entry. There's two examples here. There's the names, single entry, and there's name value pairs.